Welcome back, YouTube family. You guys have now entered the Character Elevation channel. If you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and share the content. I want to ask you today a real thought-provoking question. What is reality? And I want you to think about that question for a minute. What is reality? And are you living in the true reality? And I think that's a very powerful question, because if you ask most people, they would say, yeah, I'm living in reality. I'm living the true reality. But I want to bring that question from a different standpoint. I want to bring that thought or the vision of what I want to communicate from a different standpoint, so we can really think if we're living in the true reality. You take a person from birth, and let's say they was raised in a dysfunctional family, and their parents told them, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're never going to be nothing, you're never going to amount to nothing, you're going to be just like your daddy, you're going to be just like your mama, you're going to be just like this, you're going to be just like that. And this child's whole life, they're hearing negative stuff, they're hearing bad stuff. It's being modeled to them, and they're constantly getting that negative and bad stuff reinforced to them. So by nurture and by nature, they're getting a bad ideology communicated to them. And then this child grows up, this child becomes an adult, this child becomes a drug addict. This drug addict thinks that they're nothing, they think they can be nothing, and they end up producing nothing because that was their belief system. Now I pose the question to you, are they living in the true reality? And the question could be answered like this: no, they are not. The reality that they're living in is their current reality, but that's not actually the true reality of who they can be. And for them, as they're living in that reality, they think that's the only reality and that's their true reality. But the real truth of the matter is they're living in a false reality. They've been sold a bag of goods that is a lie. They have subscribed to a bag of goods or a mindset that is a lie. So because it is a lie, they're actually not living in their true reality. They're living in a false reality. And so if you take that same concept and you spread that over to everybody's life, and that's why I posed the question to you, are you living in your truest reality? The reality of who you really can be. I'm talking about all the gifts you have, all the talents you have, all the possibility of what is really locked inside of you. The interesting thing is, just as I took the example of the child that was raised in a bad environment and was told negative things, what we don't realize is a lot of us are raised in different class and economical structures that tell us what we are and what we can be, and we subscribe to it without even knowing we subscribe to it. You take the poor working class. Now, as a kid is growing up, his parents is not telling him, hey, you're going to be poor, you're going to be stuck in the poor working middle class, this is all you can produce, this is all you can have. But they're modeling it to them. And so since this child is getting that ideology or concept modeled to them, they have a greater chance of thinking that, oh, I have to go to work, I have to get a job, I have to do this is about all the money I can make, I'll never reach past this threshold. Now, this is not actually what they're thinking in their mind, in their conscious mind, but this is actually what's going on in their subconscious mind, because this is all they've seen their whole life, and this is what's been modeled to them. But the truth is, the real reality is, the potential that is locked inside of them is greater than the class they grew up in and what's been modeled to them their whole life. They have the ability in the real reality to transcend all those levels and all those heights from which they came from. When you talk about transformation, when you talk about a person really coming into contact, are really coming into the realization of what their true reality is, we now begin a real fight. And I say a real fight because most of the time, well, not most of the time, all the time, the reality that we're living in, whether it's true or false, we really think that's our real reality, and we can't see beyond that. And that's why we feel like it's reality. See, you do what you believe. So what you believe is very important. So if your belief system is based off of faulty reality, therefore your actions is based off of faulty reality, which actually puts you in a false reality. You only can do what you believe. You only can live up to your own belief system. You can't live beyond your belief system. That's why when you start the path of transformation, or start the actual path to do something different and change this reality, the first thing that needs to be changed is your belief system. And a lot of times we don't even know our belief system, because the belief system is working in the subconscious part of our mind. It's been something that's been deeply embedded in us throughout all our life. And so for a person to actually come into a conscious understanding or a conscious reality of what their belief system is, they have to do an inventory. I mean, you take a store, right? When you go into a store, what do they do to know what's on the shelf? They do an inventory. Then inventory tells them what's being sold, what's not being sold, what's still on the shelf, what they need to get, how business is going, how business is not going, where their funds is at. The inventory gives them a full scope of how the store is running and what's working for them and what's not working for them. And this is the same thing with us. As we take that inventory of our belief system, it gives us the ability to look at on paper to see exactly what that belief system is and what that belief system is actually producing for us. And see, this inventory might take some time, because there's some hidden beliefs, there's some beliefs that are deep down that it takes for certain situations to draw out of us. It takes the right storm to provoke us in a certain way that belief may rise up, that we then can identify what that belief is, so we actually can change that belief. So when you talk about reality, I pose the question back to you. Are you living in your truest reality? Or have you subscribed to a lie? And this is just something to ponder about daily. This is something to always reflect on, so you actually can come to an understanding of where you're at. It's something I always tell people when they want to change. How can you figure out where you're going if you don't even know where you're at? You know, if I got a map and I say, hey, where you want to go? And you say, I want to go to New York. Okay, that's nice. You're going to go to New York. How are you going to get there? I'm going to fly there. Okay. Where are you? Show me where you're at in this map. Well, I don't know. Well, if you don't know where you're at, if you can't point to me where you're at on this map, then I can't tell you how to get to where you're going, because I don't even know where you're at. We need to know your starting point. Once we figure out where your starting point is, we then can figure out how long it's going to take you to get where you're going to get, where you need to go to get on the plane to get where you're going to get. We can then begin to work the details out to figure out how you're going to get to where you're going. But you first have to know where you are at to get to where you're going. You know, it was a time in my life where I had ended up in a place that I didn't want to be. And I thought to myself, how do you end up somewhere where you don't want to be? I mean, imagine that. How do you get somewhere where you do not want to be? You would think, like, if I don't want to be somewhere, then I'm not going to go there. But yet I had found myself in a place where I didn't want to be, and it was a bunch of other people there just like me. And that was something really to marvel at. I'm around thousands of people, who are all in a place where they don't want to be, yet they're there. And I bring that back to the question, are you living in your truest reality? Because people end up in places and mindset and situations that they don't want to be when we are living life aimlessly. We are living life unconsciously. That means every day you're just moving through life. You have no goal, you have no aim, you have no nothing. You're just there. There's nothing you're pressing into. There's nothing you're pondering about. There's no goal, there's no aim, there's no bullseye. It's like if I tell you, hey, let's play darts, and I don't even have like a dartboard or a bullseye somewhere for you to hit. We just start throwing the darts wildly. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise if darts end up all over the wall, through the TV and the couch, or wherever you're at. Because there's nowhere that we're throwing the darts at. We have no aim. If you have no aim, you have no purpose. If you have no purpose, then what are we doing? What are we doing? And see, these are all thought-provoking questions that lead us to a deeper sense of discovering what reality is. What the true reality is. Because there's a true reality, and then there's a reality that individuals exist in based on their perception of life, and that perception could be based on false ideals, false beliefs, which leads to a false reality. Discovery of self, discovery of purpose, discovery of knowing is what's fueling all this. This is what needs to be behind finding that true reality. This is what needs to be behind asking ourselves those thought-provoking questions. And so I leave you with today the food for thought. Are you living in the true reality?